Hey, friends. In today's era, China, one of the oldest countries in the world, is said to have a history of 5,000 years. But how did this nation originate and gradually form its current territory? There's an old Chinese saying, taking history as a mirror, we can understand gains and losses. So, what profound experiences and wisdom can we learn from thousands of years of Chinese history? In the following programs, I'll introduce how this ancient civilization developed and grew, as well as the interesting stories of its rise and fall, dynasty by dynasty. Today, we'll start with a myth to talk about China's first hereditary dynasty, the Xia dynasty. From its historical records to the establishment of the Shang dynasty, spanning hundreds of years, legend has it that in ancient times, the entire universe was like a big egg, a dark and sticky chaos, with no sky, no earth, and no sun, moon, stars, or humans. Until one day, a giant named Pangu woke up in this chaos. When he opened his eyes, all he saw was darkness. He felt so stifled. So he grabbed a huge axe and hacked hard at the chaos with a boom. The chaos was split apart like a cut cake. The light and clear parts slowly rose to become the sky, while the heavy and turbid parts gradually sank to form the earth. Pangu feared that the sky and the earth would merge again. So he held up the sky with his head and stepped on the earth with his feet, straining every muscle to keep them apart. Day after day, year after year, the sky rose one shang about 3.3 meters each day. The earth thickened one shang each day, and Pangu grew one shang taller each day. After 18,000 years, the sky became extremely high, the earth extremely thick, and Pangu a giant towering into the sky. But he was so exhausted that after completing the feat of creating heaven and earth, he fell down and never rose again. His exhaled breath became wind and clouds. His voice turned into thunder. His eyes became the sun and moon. His limbs became the four poles north, south, east, west. His skin and flesh became the vast land, and his blood became the flowing rivers. Thus, the world we know today was created. Unlike the Western legend of Adam and Eve creating humanity, China's origin myth is about Pangu splitting heaven from earth. Countless years later, around the 21st century BCE, a catastrophic flood swept across the Huaxia Chinese land. The floodwaters were torrential, turning the land into a vast ocean. People were displaced, crops were submerged, and houses collapsed. Life became miserable. Shan, the leader of the Central Plain Tribal Alliance, was extremely anxious when he saw this situation and urgently needed someone to control the floods. That's when a man named Yu the Great stepped forward. Yu led a group of people through wind and rain, personally surveying the terrain everywhere. Digging mountains and channels to redirect the floodwaters into the sea, he worked tirelessly for 13 years. It's said that during this period, he passed by his own home 3 times, but never went in the first time. He heard his wife giving birth and the baby's cry. But he gritted his teeth and kept going because the flood control task was urgent. The second time, his child was old enough to call him father and shouted for him at the door, but he just waved and continued on his way. The third time, his grown child ran out to pull him home, but he stroked the child's head and still didn't stop. Yu's spirit of sacrificing his family for the greater good is truly admirable. After 13 years of hard work, the floods finally receded. As the land returned to peace, the people were overjoyed and deeply grateful to Yu. Because of his great merit in controlling the floods, Yu gained enormous prestige among the tribes. As Shang grew older, he passed the leadership to Yu according to the traditional abdication system of the tribal alliance. At a grand assembly held in Tushan, tribes from all over sent representatives to attend. The scene was bustling. Historical records say 10,000 states brought jade and silk as tributes, meaning countless tribes came with gifts to pay homage. Yu accepted the congratulations of all and became the ruler of the world, laying the foundation for the later establishment of the Xia dynasty. Around the 2070th of BCE, Yu the Great passed away according to the abdication system. His chosen successor was Bo Yi. However, Yu's son, Qi, was unwilling to let power slip away. He secretly built up his strength and eventually defeated Bo Yi to take the throne himself. From then on, the hereditary system replaced the abdication system, and the public world became a family world. China's first slave dynasty, the Xia dynasty, was officially established. This was a major historical transition, marking China's shift from primitive society to slave society.
When Qi first established the Xia dynasty, many opposed his violation of the abdication system. Among them, the Ya tribe resolutely refused to recognize Qi's rule and declined to attend the tribal assembly he convened. to safeguard his royal power and consolidate Shai's rule. Qi led an army to conquer the Ya tribe. The two sides fought a fierce battle at Gandek. Before the battle, Qi delivered a speech, claiming that the Yaoyu tribe had defied heaven's will and that he was acting on heaven's behalf. After intense combat, Qi ultimately defeated the Yaoyu tribe and enslaved them. This victory strengthened Qi's rule and helped the Xia dynasty gain a foothold among the tribes. During Qi's reign, the Xia dynasty remained stable, but in his later years, he began to live a luxurious life. After Qi's death, his son Taikong inherited the throne. Compared to his grandfather Yu the Great, Taikong was far inferior. He indulged in pleasure all day and ignored state affairs, especially loving hunting. Once, Taikong went hunting for months, leaving the country unattended. Taking advantage of this, Hu Ye, the leader of the Dongye Yukiang tribe, who was highly skilled in archery and ambitious, led his army to seize Sha's capital. While Taikong was away, cutting off his return, Taikong had no choice but to flee and eventually died in exile. This is the famous historical event of Taikong losing the state, making him the first exiled emperor in Chinese history. Although Hu Yi seized power, he did not learn from Taikong's mistakes. Before long, he became addicted to hunting just like Taikong and entrusted state affairs to his confidant, Han Zhuo. Han Zhuo was treacherous. He pretended to be respectful to Hu Yi while secretly building his own power base. In 1978 BCE, Han Zhuo launched a coup when he deemed the time ripe, killing Hu Yi and taking the throne himself. Han Zhuo was extremely ruthless. He carried out a brutal purge of the Xiu royal family, nearly wiping them out. Just when it seemed the Xia dynasty was doomed, a key figure emerged: Shao Kong. Shao Kong was the great-grandnephew of Tai Kong. When Tai Kong lost the state, Shao Kong's father, Shang, was killed during exile. His mother escaped through a wall hole and fled to her natal tribe, Yoring, where she gave birth to Shao Kong. Raised in Yoring, Shao Kong became a shepherd in charge of livestock as an adult. When Han Zhuo learned Shao Kong was still alive, he sent men to hunt him down. Shao Kong had to flee to the Yuli tribe, which took pity on him and sheltered him. Alright, friends, that's all for today's story about China's Xia dynasty. Although Xia is long gone, its stories have endured, profoundly influencing China's historical development. I hope today's sharing has given you a better understanding of this ancient period. In our next episode, we'll introduce China's second dynasty, the Shang dynasty. Thanks for liking and following. See you next time.